Greetings, peoples of the interwebs. Welcome to another episode of the Pasty Pale Podcast, where today my guest is my friend Elijah Scott. I was going to say Elijah Wood. So yeah, Elijah Wood's in the studio today.
No. Don't you put that out there.
They don't know that. They don't know that. But no, Elijah Scott. Yes. Sorry to disappoint you fans if you're getting excited to Elijah Wood. That's next week.
We will book him next month.
Yeah, next month. Still trying to negotiate like how that's going to work out. So I'll keep you updated.
His people will call your people.
Yeah, exactly.
That whole thing. Yeah, I like that.
But anyways, so welcome to the show. Thank you for agreeing to be on my podcast here.
Of course, happy to be here.
And so we've known each other for a little bit, about almost 2 years, maybe.
Almost, roughly. Yeah.
Met through Eric. I think it was the night he got a lot of us together to play Cards Against Humanity.
Yeah.
And later D&D.
D&D. Yeah, that was a fun night. Playing Cards Against Humanity too. That was interesting. Getting to see everybody's like reactions to like my sense of humor and your sense of humor and everybody. Like, I met a lot of like lifelong friends now. Through Eric. So.
Yeah, usually like the people he brings to the table, whether it be like D&D or like any of the other card games, tabletop games we play, it's like those are usually the people where like I'll kind of meet like that one night and then I'm like, yeah, these are my people. Because a lot of us are like pretty like-minded, like
exactly
nerds and like metalheads and kind of left-leaning people.
Yeah.
So it's
yeah. I'm definitely left, like not just leaning. I've fallen over to the left. Like, I'm just constantly on that side. I don't know why. I can't do any of the right wing stuff. It's just not for me.
Well, I mean, like, so my thing is, I guess I wouldn't necessarily say like I'm a liberal or anything like that or a Democrat. It's more just I'm all what's best for humanity.
Right.
It just so happens that a lot of that stuff is on the left.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's not like I have like a party.
Right.
Loyalty to like the Democrats. Cause,
no, I'm not.
They're just as garbage as the Republicans.
Like people call me a Democrat but don't know me or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have a neighbor who's awful, but he refers to me and my wife as Democrats, and we're like, we're not Democrats. He's like, those liberals, and we're like, we're not liberals. Yeah. Like we just want people to be able to live their lives happily and everybody
Equality
be taken care of.
And,
like. That's
health insurance stuff that everyone should have. Yeah.
Well, we also do a lot of stuff online, both me and my wife. She plays the Oculus, the VR headset, a lot. And ever since she started doing that, she's made friends all over the world, like really close friends in the UK, in Australia, in Japan, in Thailand, all over the world. And hearing them talk about like their level of care and what their governments do for them
is ridiculous.
It is absolutely insane when comparison to us.
Yeah.
And she'll tell them like stuff about like, I work for the state, which we both do. And she's like, and my insurance is awful. I still have to pay out of pocket thousands of dollars if I need any kind of even minor surgery. Yeah. Like it's just ridiculous. And they're just like scratching their heads over it. Like, why?
Because most of Europe, they have like basically free healthcare, and there is like an argument of kind of people are like, oh well, you only have like limited options. There are like different plans too. It's not like you can only go to that one practice or that one doctor.
Exactly.
And other people are like, well, you don't get as good a medical care. I don't know, maybe it's case by case, but even still, it's like I would still rather like pay extra to know that like if I get in a car accident, I'm covered.
Exactly.
I'm not going to be like in thousands of dollars of copious amount of debt because I like got a minor injury in a car wreck.
I don't want to have to ever choose between living, continuing to be alive, and like just ruining my life and being in poverty.
Yeah,
like that should never be a choice that I feel like anybody should have to make. I feel like everybody should be able to live a reasonable, comfortable life, regardless of your social standing, race, culture, background, or anything. Everybody should have a right to live a comfortable life. Housing, medical care, food, clothing. These are things that we should never charge for. In my opinion, obviously I don't make any laws or anything. I don't even make movies. I'm not Elijah Wood. But not yet.
That director, I should probably say. Not trying to turn you into Elijah Wood.
Hey, look! If I could get on screen and remake the Lord of the Rings movies, absolutely. Those movies will be so short. I'm getting on one of those eagles immediately and just going beeline straight for it. Like,
okay, I'm going to counter that. Because I know a lot of people have brought that up. It's a fair argument.
All right.
But, so, Tolkien's about as close to religion as I get.
Yeah.
And actually, it's not necessarily a plot hole, because here's the thing. The Fellowship, their whole point of the journey was stealth. It's a little hard to be stealthy on giant eagles. Now, granted, they could have easily dropped them off in Mordor. That's like, once the orcs start seeing the eagles flying,
either there or away.
Yeah, they're kind of like, okay, something fishy's going on.
What's happening over there?
Yeah. So, I guess theoretically, could they have had enough time to, like, the eagles drop Frodo off and have him drop the ring in Mount Doom? Sure. But then you have to, like, get out of enemy territory, and even on the eagles, there's a good chance that you could escape, but maybe they get shot down by, orcish archers.
Yeah, okay. I totally see that portion of it. My only counter would be, at some point, they would have had, they don't even need a massive force, just enough people that they could have sent these people over here, cause a distraction, sent an eagle over here, drop these two off. Yeah. They're really close to Mordor, and then they can just.
And that is essentially what they did at the Battle of the Black Gates.
Yeah, exactly.
But another thing too, though, is like the eagles don't just kind of like swoop in whenever Gandalf or whoever's they're not an Uber.
Yeah, they are their own race.
Yeah,
right?
they're their own.
Actually, they have like a language.
Yeah,
and everything,
exactly.
Right.
When they did interfere, is because they actually just happened to be flying by. So in The Hobbit, like when they saved Gandalf and the dwarves and Bilbo, they just happened to be flying by. And Gandalf knows the eagles. They're like, well, okay, they look like they're in the help. I'll go.
Yeah.
And also like Gwaihir, the Lord of the Eagles. Mm-hmm. Yes, I know his name, listeners. He actually had gotten shot with a poison arrow from orcs, and Gandalf saved him. So he did kind of owe Gandalf a favor, and so that's when he saved him from Orthanc after Saruman imprisoned him. He's kind of like, all right, pal, I'm calling in your favor. Okay. And then by the time of the Battle of the Black Gate, that's when the tide of battle is turning, and so that's when the Eagles are like, okay, we're coming to save you on our own free will. There's a little bit more to that, but not going to go into the whole theology and stuff like that of Lord of the Rings.
Well, I feel like it's also kind of by saving you, we're also kind of saving ourselves. Yeah. Because if they take out all of the realms of men, the realms of elves, the realms of, dwarves, how much longer until they just go ahead and...
point when they kind of realize, okay, this is we're going all out, we're our last-ditch effort to try and defeat Sauron, we'll chip in. Yeah. Because typically, they kind of stayed out of the affairs of most, humans, elves, and all that stuff. Yeah. But yeah, so...
I like this already.
I could do a whole series on Lord of the Rings and its lore.
I'm with you on it. Let's
do
this.
The Silmarillion there, which you see on the bookshelf,
I was noticing
that is basically like Tolkien's Bible.
Yeah.
Actually, even the beginning of it kind of starts like a Genesis, where it's basically like, in the beginning there's Eru Ilúvatar, who is essentially the god of Tolkien's mythology. Yeah. I would be like those Mormons or Jehovah's Witnesses, but I have the Silmarillion. It's kind of like, have you read the good book? The Bible? No.
Have you read the good book of the Silmarillion?
Yeah, the Silmarillion's like, what's the Silmarillion? It's like, well, don't mind if I do.
Let me come on in.
Yeah, shoehorn my way in. It's kind of like, now.
Can we come in, please?
Yeah. Halfway through, the Silmarillion, they're like, I have no idea what's happening. It's like, and that's the problem, you're not listening. So I'm going to start all the way from the beginning.
Over. Pull out the whiteboard, start erasing.
Sir, please leave. It's like, no, not until you understand the importance of why when Gimli asked for the 3 hairs from Galadriel, you understand why that's so important.
I love it. Oh, that's a whole podcast in itself.
Yeah. For future references, those of you listeners, if you ever do come across a pasty pale ginger man at your doorstep with a copy of the Silmarillion, who asks, have you read the good book? That's probably me trying to spread the good word. So
I will be right behind him in a full suit as the kind of like Luther, the anger translator. Yeah, absolutely. I'll be your hype man. No problem.
All right, this is happening. But okay, so now that we've gotten a little bit of...
Intro.
Yeah, intro. I'll start with the 4 questions that I usually ask all my guests. Because before I started this podcast, I had the top researchers, scientists. I invested millions of dollars to develop 4 questions to where as soon as people, once they hear your answers, they'll know you like the back of their hand.
Okay, well, let me take off my hat. This is getting serious. Okay, all right, let's do this.
All right, so question number 1. What is your 3rd favorite dinosaur?
Oh, 3rd favorite. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, how dare you? Let me see. Let me go down the list. Velociraptors is going to be first.
Very good choice.
And a lot of people say T-Rex, but I'm just like
T-Rex is probably my second.
It's a big dumb thing, and like it's terrifying. Yes, absolutely, I would be terrified of it. But to me, it's just a big dumb thing, and I like things that are pack animals and that are smart and use tactics. If you notice by most of my D&D characters, like that's what they do. So yeah, I like tactical. Same thing with my second favorite would be the Triceratops, because the rhinoceros would be the closest thing that we have to that, and they are like nature's
probably Triceratops and Stegosaurus are like a tie between my three. Like one day, like if you just ask me right off the bat, it might be Stegosaurus. The next day it might be Triceratops. So I like your answer so far.
Yeah. But as far as like third favorite, I would have to say the Brontosaurus, just because I really like giraffes. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is, but like just the thought of like a really long neck for some reason, like I don't know what it is. It's just a funny looking thing that I can just watch all day. So the Brontosaurus would probably be my third favorite. You know, they're just gentle giants, and I like that. Like, nice. That's kind of cool.
All right. Question number 2: ranch or blue cheese?
Oh, depends on the food that's going with it.
So that's like if one had to go.
If one had to go? Yeah. Oh, jeez. Oh, this is awful. Oh, you got your money's worth with those millions of dollars developing these questions.
Could have spent it on more productive stuff, but it's kind of like, no, these are the questions that need to be asked.
These are it. You're getting to the meat and potatoes here. I could not live without chicken wings. And I like hot wings, and I have blue cheese with my hot wings, so I'm going to keep the blue cheese and get rid of the ranch. I can eat a salad dry if I need to, or one of the million other dressings that go on salad, so I'm going to get rid of the ranch.
Not the answer we were looking for, but it's fine. Each their own.
Is there a buzzer on the seat? I'm worried.
So, question number 3. If I came into possession of the One Ring of Power, would you join my fellowship? And if so, what would you offer? Because, Legolas his bow, Gimli his axe, Aragorn his sword. Okay. You can't say no, by the way.
I can't say that I wouldn't join you. Because at first I'd be like, I'm a shopkeeper. I don't go quest. That's the age-old thing. Like, why is not everybody a main character? Because some people's got to be the side
character. Got to run the economy.
Yeah, the economy's got to keep going somehow. Yeah. So, like, who's going to make the weapons? Yeah, I would definitely come with, but I would be more of a Merry or a Pippin kind of character. Like, not necessarily. I feel like I would add the talking and sometimes get into trouble because of it. I would definitely try my best to make sure that I contributed as much as I possibly could to getting you to the end goal. Whatever the end goal is, I'm rallying people to your cause. I'm the bard that rides into town first, and it's like, hey, did you guys hear about these guys coming in? Oh man, I heard they're awesome. And then when you guys get there, the town's like, oh, the heroes are here. Let's join them. Like, that's me. I'd be that guy. So.
I love that answer, because me being the short fellow I am, I'm all Team Hobbit. And again, the Hobbits, had they not joined the Fellowship, Middle-earth probably would have
fell. Yeah. Gandalf saw something in the Hobbits all the way back from Bilbo and before.
Because they were so unassuming. That's their biggest strength, is because they don't have high ambitions of I'm going to be a great warrior, king or something. They're just like, hey man, I just want to drink and smoke, pipe weed and hang out with the boys at the Dragon.
I just want to hang out and have a good time and dance and smoke and live like exactly what we were just talking about, how we would like all life to be. Yeah. I just want everybody to be taken care of and everybody have a good time. Yeah. That's simple. So yeah, I would definitely be one of the hobbits for sure. Man, I get to live in a hobbit hole?
Also, Merry and Pippin were pivotal characters, because Merry stabbed the Witch King in the back of the knee, dispelling the spell that basically prevented him from being killed. And then Eowyn, of course,
stabbed him through the face.
And then Pippin saved Faramir from getting burnt alive, and saved Gandalf. And again, they might cause a bit of mischief, but pivotal characters.
Yeah, and they rallied the Ents to the fight against Saruman.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, they contributed in major ways. It's just way more subtle than I'm Sam and Frodo and I'm Aragorn and Legolas and stuff like that. It's they were there and they were doing stuff. It's just not the stuff that ended up on screen or,
well, even like on screen, I feel like, and granted, this is more of like, I guess, the casual fans. I feel like they usually kind of idolize more of like the Aragorns, which, by all means, idolize that man.
Oh, yeah.
He is the epitome of what a man should be.
Yes.
Because, like, he's not like a
toxic masculinity.
Yeah. He's like the perfect male figure because, like, he's a handsome man. Yeah. He's a healer. He's a leader. Kind of reluctant. Like, he doesn't, like, showboat and be like, I'm the king, so you should follow me.
He actively went away from that. Yeah. Like, he knew he was supposed to be the king of the realm of men, and he chose to be a ranger, and
so like, could kind of deserve the title.
Exactly. And then on top of that, like, just him being able to stay humble once he reached his status. Like, at the very, very end, I felt like they could have ended the movie right at the moment where he said, my friends, you bow to no one.
That is one of my, like, so Lord of the Rings, I watch those movies, like, every year, the extended editions.
I spoiled to the extended. To see the, like, director's extended edition.
Highly recommend the extended editions.
I want to. I'm pretty sure I own them. Don't think I've ever put them in and watched them. I need to.
Highly recommend. But that's one of my favorite scenes, and it's actually a scene that they added in the movies. That's not in the books. But I love that because it shows that, like, Peter Jackson and, like, the writers, they truly understood, like, the characters. And again, like, that is very in character of what Aragorn would do at his coronation when, like, they always like, no. Had it not been for you four, like, we would not be
None
here.
of this would have happened.
So,
exactly.
Me, who just got crowned king, I'm bowing to you, and then everyone else follows. I was like, that's one of those moments that kind of like, I get a little teary, and it's like,
I was openly weeping at what was it, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning when that part of the movie came on, on opening night in the movies. Openly weeping.
Yeah. There are so many scenes that get me. But okay, so on to the fourth and final questions. Now, the hard ones are out of the way. I'm throwing you curveballs.
This is the easy one?
Yeah.
Okay.
What is the meaning of life?
Just the meaning of life? 42. So let's go. All right, I think I'm done here. The meaning of life. It's gonna sound cliche. It's gonna sound like very, very just like, oh, you got that from a movie. But honestly, I feel like the meaning of life for pretty much everyone. Do as much good for other people as you possibly can for as long as you can. Like, that's it. There is no greater calling and there is no greater reward for life than to just do as much good as you can for other people. It doesn't matter if it's something small like opening up a door for somebody or something major like changing the world for the better and curing cancer or whatever the case may be. Like, just do what you can for as long as you can. Like, that's my entire motivation in life is just trying to help people.
It's a really good answer. Because I think a lot of people, I guess, get tripped up because they think that there is like this kind of single defining like meaning of life, and I think it's actually more subjective to like one's own personal
philosophy. That's the way I interpret the question.
Or like, say you're like a musician, maybe your meaning of life is like you want to spread your music to as many people as possible. Yeah. Now, whether you become like the next like rock star, who knows? Yeah. But like. I imagine if you're enjoying your craft, it doesn't matter how famous you are. It's just, you reach 5 people. Those are 5 people that, like, their lives have been changed. Maybe not, like, drastically, but you've impacted their life in some form or fashion.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm 100% behind that philosophy. Like, I want to leave the world in even if it's like a very small, slight way, leave it better than it was when I got here. Like, that's it. That's the goal, and for me, that is my meaning of life. So
very good. Well, I feel like it's getting harder and harder to do that, though, with the way the world is.
It is, especially considering I feel like I'm kind of a conundrum as well because of the fact that I very much am a huge believer of do as much good as you can and be nice and be happy and this, that, and the other, and then I'm also like. I like to argue. So I'll see somebody, post something or say something online that's like very obviously false or very obviously just mean or something like that. And I'm just like, my wife will come into the room and she'll see me like typing out this long book report with like cites and sources and facts and figures, and she's like, just erase it. Just erase. Don't hit send. Whatever you do, just erase it. And I'm like, oh, fine. And I'm hitting the erase key for the next like 5 minutes straight. I like to argue. I should have gone into being a lawyer, or gone into politics or something like that. But I feel like that, I don't know, both of those realms, I feel like they just corrupt people.
Yeah, I feel like even the people who do go into, like, those professions with good intent, especially politics, I feel like you can't make it very far unless you start to sacrifice, like, your beliefs or your moral, whatever your morals may be, to, like, move up in the ladder.
And by the time that you have moved up high enough, you've been there for so long and doing these gestures that they're instinctual, and you're finally in a position that you can enact change, but you've benefited so much from the system the way it is that you don't. Yeah, and that's a problem.
Yeah, like, and that's why, like, our country, we keep shooting ourselves in the foot, especially with the two-party system. Yeah. Because, like, most of these politicians don't really care about us. They just, like, want to add another notch under their belt. And it's like... Absolutely. Like, the last election, it's like, I didn't vote for Biden because, like, I loved the guy. I just hated Trump. And I'm kind of like...
and that's a problem, in my opinion. Like, I did the same thing. Absolutely. Went into the little booth, clicked the thing for Biden, felt awful afterwards. I don't even drink, and I went home and took a shot. Like, I don't like the guy. However... he's not as bad as the other guy, so that's
he's at least predictable.
Exactly.
You know what to expect from him.
Yeah.
And I imagine, like, other world leaders were relieved, too. They're just like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Joe, I know what to expect from Joe.
Yeah, we don't have to deal with this for another 4 years. Like, hopefully... the next cycle, we won't have to deal with it again. But
I'm really hoping that, like, him and DeSantis just, like, tear each other apart and cannibalize, like, the Republican Party, and then just they cancel each other out.
Hopefully, like, that's kind of what I was hoping with as many different Republicans ran against Trump the last time. I was hoping that there would be, like, so much infighting that it would divide up so much that it, that all of that would wash, and then we would just win in a landslide. That was my hope when it was Hillary against Trump.
Which that was a big problem too, in my opinion. It's like, I think the Democrats really underestimated, like, how much people disliked Hillary.
I think people don't realize how much people dislike Democrats. And it's not so much of the fact that they don't like Democrats because of their, party beliefs, and their structure and everything else like that. I don't like Democrats because they don't have a spine. I will die on, for my beliefs of, helping people and stuff like that. Like, as terrified as I would be and whining and complaining the entire time, I would still run back into the burning building for, like, somebody's dog. Like, I don't care. I want to do good for other people. I will get over it and grow a spine and go in. I don't feel like Democrats have that. I feel like every time they make promises, they make promises, and then as soon as they reach any resistance to fulfilling that promise, they back down immediately. When Obama won his first term, they had control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency. You mean to tell me that you couldn't get universal health care, and you couldn't get gun reform, you couldn't get, like, housing reform, you couldn't get student loan debt, you couldn't get all of these things that would have immeasurably changed the trajectory of this country? You couldn't get those through? You had control of everything. Yeah. These were some of the promises that you made. Like, you were like, hope and love and blah, blah, blah. And you didn't do it. Yeah. Like, you didn't deliver. You gave us a watered down universal health care, which wasn't universal, which, the Affordable Care Act, everybody calls it Obamacare, but it's the Affordable Care Act. The rest of it just didn't happen. It never materialized in the 4 years. The most drone strikes around the world of any other president in history. Like, you just continued to do the war profiting and, like, didn't help anybody who had their student loans, which, Biden did help a lot of people with that. So I'll give him credit where credit is due. But I just wish that the Democrats had a spine. Same thing with liberals. I wish they had a spine. If they did, I would be way more inclined to be behind them. Yeah. And I would feel better about it. I just don't.
I think part of the problem too is like the mass majority of people like on either party, but I'll use the Democrats for example, is things like wiping the student loan debt or healthcare and stuff like that. But a lot of the stuff is not this is going to be stuff that they probably won't even be able to achieve in their even if they get 8 years, they can get the ball rolling.
Yeah,
but obviously that doesn't sound as appealing to be like, hey guys, here are my policies. But more than likely, they're not going to get achieved during my presidency. I just got to get the ball rolling. Because then voters are going to be like, well, that doesn't sound very promising.
But I would much rather prefer, and I think that that was part of the draw for a lot of people to Trump, was that with him, as crazy and insane as he was, what you see is what you get. People liked that.
Yeah.
And having somebody actually say, I'm going to do X and then do X. I'm going to ban Muslims. And then he banned Muslims.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, can he do that? I don't care. He just did.
Yeah.
He did the thing. This is probably the only thing that I'm ever going to say, that is uplifting of Trump. I don't like him at all. But the man did what he said he was going to do.
Unfortunately.
He did. And that was one of the things that people liked about him. Unfortunately, all the things that he said were awful.
Yeah.
But he
Which
did
somehow makes it that much easier to pass.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like genocide.
Yeah, exactly.
They commit mass genocide. But
Yeah.
it's universal health care? I don't know, man.
I don't know about keeping people alive.
Genocide. Let's vote for genocide.
Yeah, let's go for genocide. But it was so, that was the only thing that people were really drawn to. And I feel like if we had a Democrat, a liberal, whatever left-leaning person who was willing to just do that. What's her name? Katie Porter is by far the closest that I think that we will ever get to somebody like that.
I'm not familiar with her.
Katie Porter is absolutely amazing. I think she's out of California, and I'm probably wrong, but I think that's where she's from. And she is the type that she's very factual and very pointed whenever she's in Congress and she's speaking and stuff like that, and she's questioning people. She'll bring out her little whiteboard, and at that point, whoever she's talking to, they know they're done. They're just over, because she'll just be like, okay, you said it costs this much money to do this, and you made this much money, so why is it that none of this money is being applied to that? I need an explanation. And then the person will go off on a tangent. She'll be like, reclaiming my time. You said. And she'll just continue to press them until they actually answer the question that she asked. She actually was one of the big drivers around getting the COVID vaccine to be free, because she had the people, I think it was Pfizer in there, and she was saying, so you're telling me right now, in front of everybody, in front of all these cameras for the world to see, that you're making the vaccine, it is this effective, and that you can make it to be free for everybody right now. And the person was like, well, we've got to do this, blah, 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 blah. She's like, you are the person who has that authority, correct? He was like, yes. She was like, so you're telling me that you're making it free for everybody, right? And eventually he just caved and said, yes. That was it.
Wow.
It's on record. And she said, okay, American public, you just heard him say it. It is free for everybody. Go get it.
And again, that is how it should be.
Yeah.
Too.
Continue to press these people until they finally just back down. Because they're there's no reason for the, what is that? The Andrew Schrecky or whatever. Scarelli. The guy with the insulin.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The insulin dude. I don't know what his name is. I hope he stays in prison forever. But the guy who discovered insulin wanted it to be free for everybody. He didn't want to make any money he was like, oh, this is a life-saving drug. Everybody should have access to it. And now they're charging thousands of dollars for it. It's like, why?
People need this to live.
Yes. Exactly.
If they don't have it, they can die. But again, it's all about the money for big pharmaceutical, coal, oil, whoever.
Exactly.
And again, they've bought out pretty much all the politicians.
Exactly.
Especially the senators and basically the people who don't have term limits, like the Congress people, where it's just kind of like Nancy Pelosi. She's almost 80, or maybe in her 80s.
In her 80s, and she's stepping down only because... And I know it's not the public reason that she said she was stepping down, but it's only because somebody broke into her house and almost killed her.
Yeah.
Like,
Which
they got her husband.
Definitely don't condone.
Don't condone violence politically or otherally. I don't condone violence.
I hate the people. It's still
I don't like I actually made a post about this like a long time ago where I was arguing with or I made a comment on something back. This was back when Trump was president. I made a comment and some lady, I don't know who she was. I completely blacked out her name when I screenshot it and posted it to my own page. She made some comment saying, well, you young people just don't know how the world works, blah, blah, blah. Everything you're proposing is making the world worse and this, that, and the other. And I was like, man, and I went through, I just went on a rant. And I was like, you realize that, first of all, she said something about participation trophies. I was like, you realize that participation trophies started with my generation. I remember those being given out to like the second place and the third place and blah, blah, blah. I was in sports as a kid. I'm 36 now. Who do you think was giving us these? That's my big question. Who do you think was giving these? Because you never consulted me. You never asked me, do I want a participation trophy? I was not part of the conversation. So that conversation was had amongst adults. You then enacted it, and now you're blaming us for having the thing that you gave us to begin with.
How dare us be children and accept trophies because we don't really know what's going on.
Know what's happening. Like, I ran around a court for like 40 minutes and chased a ball and almost got run over by the kids who were like way bigger than me. And then I got a trophy at the end, and I was like, yay. And now you're mad at me for that? Like, I don't understand it. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. That was part of the rant. And then I was like, I want the world to be a better place for everybody. And despite my anger and my rage and my just pure vitriol for the way the world is and the way that you all allowed it to get to, your generation and older, because this has been going on for a long time. I want the world to be a better place for you too. It includes you. Despite how much I dislike all of the problems that you've left me, the environment's getting worse. The coasts are rapidly going into the ocean. The economy is in shambles and everybody's in debt. And I'm living through like a pandemic. The World Trade Centers, the economy collapsed multiple times in my lifetime and will happen multiple more in my lifetime.
It is like that Witcher meme where, Geralt's kind of like, I've lived through 3 supposed end of the worlds. And I forget what the exact meme is, but I'm kind of like, yeah, it's kind of sad that, people, our kind of collective generation, we're not even 40 yet.
Yeah.
And have lived through this stuff. It's kind of like, ugh.
Yeah, and then we look at Gen Z. I like the one that has, it's the James Franco from whatever that movie is, where he's, on the gallows. With
first time?
Us looking at Gen Z, and they're like, the economy's collapsing. First time?
Yeah.
This is your first time? Okay, you're new here. Don't worry. You'll get through it. It's not a big deal. Yeah, just, get your Velveeta cheese. And stock up on peanut butter. Those are going to tide you over for a while. If it starts raining or getting snowy out, make sure you get eggs and milk for some reason. I don't know. I have no idea why. I'm lactose intolerant. I still get milk. I have no idea. It's weird. Like I said, I just want the world to be a better place for everybody. And I feel like it's hard for people who have never, as my dad used to say, people who've never left their front doorstep. Because I come from a very heavy military family on both sides. For generations back all the way to the Civil War when they were first allowed to be in the military. My family's been in the military. It's just, they have. So naturally, me not being able to go into the military because of medical issues, going to college instead, I'm the black sheep. But we moved around a lot. I wasn't even, I have dual citizenship. I was born in Germany.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I was born off base in Germany. So I actually have 2 birth certificates. Most of it's in German. And I can't read it. But I assume it says the right stuff. If I ever really mess up here, I'm just going to be like, Guten Tag, Jiminy. just head on out.
Just kind of show them your citizenship in this country.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna hold up that birth certificate and I'm gonna bounce.
Or if it's like another Trump presidency, they're like, "No, come on.
Yeah. I got a funny story about like when I was first born. My dad was on base when my mom went into labor, and so she got rushed to the nearest hospital, which was like a ways away from where my dad was. And so my dad is on the way. My mom like has me for the first like hour or so that I'm alive. My mom didn't see me because at that time, this is the 80s, at that time, black kids in Germany, not that common. So like she saw me as a different nurse would be holding me going, chocolate bitter, as they walked past her room, and she'd be like, can I have my baby? Can I have my baby? By the time my dad got there in full military uniform, she's just like, get our child, I'm ready to go. She's like, God. You just had a baby. She's like, I want to leave. She was so mad. Yeah, she had a really good reason to be mad. Wow. But yeah, for the first like hour that I was alive, like they were just so impressed by the chocolate bitter. But I was like, a miracle. But no, not really. So yeah, that's me being born in Germany. And I hope to go back to Germany at one point.
It's really nice.
Yeah. You've been?
Yeah. So back in 2017, I think was the last time I was international. Went to Belgium and Germany. Mostly spent time in like Cologne, which is really nice. I guess like that's another thing too. Is like that really wasn't that long ago, but like it's changed a lot because like, or at least just in Cologne, tons of like different, like Africans, Asians, like Middle Eastern people. Yeah. It's kind of like that's kind of how it should be like all across the world. Is like
right,
just a melting pot of different cultures. And honestly, like when you do go back in history, like
that's a very interesting
because like the Roman Empire, for example, obviously they spanned like the entire Mediterranean,
right?
So they had all these different ethnicities and like races.
Their concept of humanity or like I guess fitting in with society was you're either a Roman or you're a barbarian.
Yeah.
Anybody who is not us is a barbarian. That wasn't limited to skin color or anything else. It was just, are you a Roman? Are you part of Rome? No, you're a barbarian.
Yeah, so whether you were Germanic, Celtic,
yeah, exactly. They like when they were going up against Germany and all that, like they saw them as barbarians until they were conquered. And once they were conquered, those of them who weren't like made into slaves or whatever were they were Romans now. Yeah. Like you pledged citizenship to Rome, you are now a Roman. And that was it. Like that was it. And there was also parts of Africa, like North Africa. So there were black people. There were Asians. There were like people think that like it's weird how history is taught in America versus how it's taught abroad. Yeah. Because in America it's taught everybody was very sectioned and these people were here and those people were there and
to a degree yes, but at the same time though like there was a lot more interconnectivity even in like what we consider the Dark Ages, like Middle Ages. Actually, was still a lot of interconnectivity. Like there was still trade between like North Africa and like the British Isles. Yeah. So like it may not have been very common to see someone from like North Africa, the Middle East, or like Sub-Saharan Africa with like the dark skin in the British Isles and like say 1200s England. It would still happen, especially like in your larger cities. They teach history where it's kind of like, oh, when Europeans first started colonizing Africa, first time I've ever seen one. And yeah, for some of them, sure.
For some of them, yeah.
But they make it seem like there's just no contact whatsoever with like Africa and Europe. And it's like, there's really like this, especially Spain and Europe or North Africa, there's only like a 20-mile distance between the two.
Like they could see each other. Yeah. Like you think they never once like traded or like exchanged any kind of.
And actually, Spain's a good example of like it used to be under the control of Muslims. They were called the Moors. Yeah. So there's actually a lot of words in Spanish that are of Moorish descent, and even the architecture, especially in southern Spain, is actually very like Moorish influence because for a good few hundred years, Spain was Muslim. They do talk about that, like with Spanish Reconquista. They don't really talk a whole lot about like the cultural impact that like the Moors had. They're just kind of like, but then the Spanish kicked out those nasty Muslims. Yeah. It's like, well, hold on. There's a lot more like context and a bit more nuance than just like their kicking out the nasty Muslims because, they're not Christians.
What kills me is that, first of all, Christianity has ripped off so many different other religions.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, like, a lot of people, especially today, because of the fact that we've brought up Muslims a lot so far, it's like, it's weird to me that people don't realize the contributions that, like, most Middle Eastern Muslim societies have contributed to the world,
especially math and science.
Exactly, and those were the major two that I was about to get to, was like astrology and math. We use their numbers, like our whole number system comes from them. Yeah. Like, they gifted the world with the mathematical knowledge to be able to start making sense of all this. Like, the fact that this house can stand because an architect realizes that we need 90-degree angles, and we need this, and we need that, and this structure, this beam can hold this much weight, so we need to spread it out amongst this, and there's a formula for that. Like, all of that is thanks to the fact that these people figured out numbers. Yeah. Thank you for that.
Otherwise our lives would be far more difficult.
Exactly. I very much enjoy living in a house. So thank you very much so. Like, and most people don't realize that there's so many different contributions that every culture on this planet, every race, every culture, every religion has made to this planet in some degree or another. I feel like a lot of that is now used negatively as opposed to positively. But at one point, they did, like, the Enlightenment era was, I imagine it had to have been amazing to live during the Enlightenment. Not, like, societally. Yeah. But if you're talking about just the revelations that came about, the advancements of science and technology, and just figuring out the world and the way that things work, and thinking about the way that people, like, started to think about their place in the world. The guy who, I can't remember who it was, but he wanted to know, he was like, so, because at one point they thought the world was flat, obviously, and he was like, so if you make it to the edge, what's beyond the edge? And they were like, nothing. He was like, so basically it's just a wall. And they're like, yeah. He was like, so if you stand on top of that wall and you shoot an arrow, it's going to go, and they're like, it'll hit another wall. And he's like, okay, so if I stand on that wall, and he was like, so it's infinite. Yeah. It's just going to continue to go, because I can do this all day. Yeah. Like, I can just say, I'm going to climb on top of that wall, and I'm going to shoot another arrow, and it's going to hit another wall.
Yeah, it may have been the same person, but there's a Greek, I guess he was a scientist, so, like, good 2,000-3,000 years ago, who actually pretty closely, I guess, measured the circumference of the Earth. Like, he was only off by, like, say, like, 4,000 miles or something like that. Yeah. Which, that's pretty impressive that he basically just looked at, like, the horizon, was kind of like, okay, so if, like, this river is, like, 5 miles away from, like, that mountain, and then he basically just did the math in his head. It was like, the world is round and is also roughly, like, whatever. Yeah, and he was very, very close to what we have actually, like, measured it to be. And it's like, and it's mind-blowing that there were people that intelligent back then, 2,000-3,000 years ago, where they're just kind of like, no, you guys are dumb, like, I'm gonna... And maybe he did that to prove people wrong, or that was just like a happy accident. He was like, how big is the Earth? And then just measured it, was like, there we go. Yeah. I'm proud of myself. Yeah, I did the thing. And it wasn't so much that it was I'm doing this for accolades or whatever. I don't know his motivations. He may have. But it was, I want to advance human knowledge. And that's what I feel like a lot of the Enlightenment period was, is I wanted to advance human knowledge. And that was contributions from everything from math and science, but also art. Like, think about the music that came from all of this. Think about the paintings and the sculptures that still today we have, and the amount of detail on them. Like, I've never been to the Louvre, but I've seen pictures of these sculptures and how, like, they'll have the hand on the skin and then the indentions and the ripples in the fabrics and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, I'm not a big art person, but it is really impressive being in the Louvre, especially some of those sculptures where it is so detailed. It's like, I don't know how much time it would have taken them to sculpt that fine a detail. And again, these are like full, like, sized statues of humans, sometimes even bigger, like these 7 feet tall statues of humans and stuff like that are so intricately carved. It's like, man, how long did they spend? And also, like, if you messed up, it's like, shit. Well, I'm gonna toss this thing.
Yeah, push this one over and start again. So bring in the next slab. Like, it's like, really? That is amazing. And it wasn't just them that was doing it, though. Like, also over in Japan and China and over there. Like, first of all, thank you for paper.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, like, they had the terracotta statues, like the terracotta army. These things have been preserved, and they are incredibly intricate and incredibly detailed. And it's just like, wow. Furthermore, like, seeing the way that the amount of time and attention to detail that they paid to, like, making weapons, like swords and farm tools, the commas and the size and stuff like that. Like, they took painstaking efforts to make these things and, like, really inject themselves into every single blade, into every single handle or whatever, hilt. Looking at some of the swords that I have honor of seeing before, like, in museums, it's just like, that in itself is art. As much as I know this is a tool for killing, it's a beautiful tool for killing. Like,
gotta give it that. You're being killed with beauty.
Yeah. Like if I have to be stabbed by a sword, I kind of want it to be that sword.
I hope that was that person's thought too. Like, as they're seeing the blade about to decapitate him, they're like, "Has a beautiful blade."
Yeah. like you could have been killed by that guy's blade, and it's just like a dinky old
old rusty piece of shit. It's like, exactly. Oh, no.
Yeah,
don't let that guy kill me.
No, I got the cool samurai with the nice armor and the cool sword. Like,
are those flowers on your hilt? That's badass.
Oh, that's beautiful. Like, no, and what was it? Journey to the West is a wonderful book that we were talking about different cultures, like, actually interacting and stuff. And I believe that one is about people who were in, I don't remember if it was Europe or if it was Africa, and they actually got all the way to, like, far western portion of China and Japan, actually trading and actually talking and interacting with these cultures of these people and learning the language and stuff like that. And it's like, that in itself was proof that these people did interact with each other. Then they also found speaking of the terracotta statues, they found the statue of the African who fell off of one of the ships and washed up on shore in Japan.
Oh, Yosuke.
And he became the first black samurai. Yeah,
because it was the Portuguese, because they're I think the Portuguese were the first Europeans to show up in Japan. Maybe it was the Dutch, but I want to say it was the Portuguese. Basically, he was one of their slaves they picked up from Africa. I guess, like, the Portuguese captain of that ship or whatever was like, "Hey, you can have this guy." Of course, the Japanese had never seen a black person before, and he was also really tall. He was probably like 6 feet tall, so he was towering over, like, everybody. And then I think it was Nobunaga, maybe? I could be wrong, but, like, whoever the feudal lord at that time was like, "Damn, this guy looks like he could kick some ass."
Yeah.
Want a sword?
He became... I remember hearing that they said there was... they, like, translated some kind of ancient documents or whatever, and they said that when they first saw him, all of the women immediately went and got buckets of water.
Yeah, because they were
trying to wash because they thought he was just dirty, like he was like caked in mud, and then they realized it's not coming off, and that's just his skin tone, and everybody was like, "Ooh, like what is this? This is weird." And then, of course, wider nose and bigger lips and this, that, and the other. And it had to have been mind-blowing to them, like, thinking about this and seeing this. It also reminds me, I imagine it was probably the same feeling that that tribe that's in, I want to say Africa, but I'm not sure, that hasn't made human contact. Like, somebody posted a video of a drone flying over this forest, and there's this, like, clearing, and there's these people, like, they're what you would imagine a nomadic tribe would be, like, they leaf bamboo kind of clothing and stuff like that, and they start throwing spears, like homemade spears, at the drone because they don't know what that thing is. It could be dangerous. Kill it. Like, that was their motivation. And I'm like, we haven't even discovered all the people on this planet yet.
And some of which, like, we've intentionally, like, left alone. So, a lot of indigenous tribes, like, the Amazon, the Brazilian government, and other governments that, like, have territory in the Amazon are like, nah, just leave them be.
Like what is it? The Christian dude who kept on going back to that island where they eat people until they finally ate him. It's like they kept telling you not to do this. Why would you keep doing this?
There's another guy. So there's this small chain of islands off the coast of India called the Andaman Islands. And they like one of the islands is basically this tribe of essentially Stone Age people. They like the Indian government has banned it because they would like in the past people had tried to like visit it to like just kind of I guess learn more about the tribe, and most of them went poorly. Where their straight up response was like to throw spears and shoot them with bows and arrows and stuff. Mm-hmm. So like this Christian missionary guy was kind of like, that's Satan's last stronghold on earth. And so he basically bribed like a fishing vessel to take him close enough to where he got in like a kayak or a little small boat and went there, and he died. Yeah. Which is unfortunate, but at the same time it's like, what do you expect to happen?
Exactly.
Especially like when the entire government of a country has been like, don't go there.
Don't do
leave
this.
Leave them be.
Yeah.
They're hostile.
This thing. Like, I feel like that kind of full circle, this whole thing, comes back around to the fact that general populations don't trust their governments and what their governments say, which is fair. Yeah. Like, very fair.
But there's some things.
But when everybody, including the people who just live there naturally, and just like, if they're telling you, the people who are transporting you there, when they stop and say, we are not getting any closer because of X, Y, and Z, at that point, you should have probably rethought what was happening.
Like, I'll go try to convert people somewhere less dangerous.
Less dangerous, exactly. Like, what's wrong with going door to door? Yeah. As long as you don't see a no soliciting sign, go up and knock. The Jehovah's Witnesses do it all the time. Oh, yeah. Don't bother the people who don't want to be bothered.
Yeah. But also, like, again, I'm agnostic, so I'm not very religious, obviously. I don't really... So I'm not a big fan of, like, the people who go to door. It's like, look, I realize your heart's in the right place, but at the same time, it's like, and I guess like also like just because I love history, so like looking at like a lot of examples of like these people, missionaries, where it's like, that's kind of a ballsy move to like go to these countries, especially like during the early colonial days, where they're kind of like, hey, I like what you're doing this place. This is all ours now, and welcome to Jesus.
Yeah.
It's like, who's Jesus? It's like, well, you better start worshiping him, or we're gonna kill you. We won't take no for an answer.
Yeah, that's something that it always bothered me about religion, but specifically the Christian religion. Like, I'm not religious in any sense of the word. It seems to me like most of them say that they're good, but then they do
shitty things,
really bad things.
And there has been some good, like, that has come from religion. I'm not going to just completely not religion. No. Whether it be Christianity, Judaism, Islam, whatever religion.
Right. But
I feel like especially the Abrahamic religions have been just terrible with trying to be like, we're good, see? We're converting people. It's like converting them by colonizing them and then slaughtering a lot of them? Sure, yes. Yeah. I'm sure that's what God wants. It's like, yes, kill all those heathens.
Yeah, well, the thing is like, isn't that one of the big no things about killing people? And like, it just seems counterproductive.
Yeah, like, my whole thing with religion is I'm fine with people who have faith in, like, a higher power, because, me being agnostic, I'm not opposed to that idea. To me, it sounds just as likely as, like, the Big Bang, where everything just happened to coalesce at once.
Exactly.
Whatever. Religion is not for me. But what it should all come down to is, like, essentially what is the Ten Commandments, and not even because that's, like, a religious thing. That's just human decency. To not lie, steal, kill, stuff like that. It's like, just leave it at that, because, again, basic human decency. Pretty much every culture can agree, lying,
not all 10 of the commandments.
Right, but, like, the big ones.
Yeah, the ones that we all agree so much on that we actually made them laws. Yeah.
And then everything else, like, whatever's in the Bible and the Torah and the Quran, it's all semantics. Yeah. It's like, okay, they do backflips on Wednesdays? Cool beans. Yeah. They can do backflips. Let them do square dancing on Wednesdays? Awesome. Let them square dance till a heart's content.
But here's my only thing about that is, don't expect other people to do the thing or have to abide by the rules that you have imposed upon yourself. Yeah. Like, if you are part of that religion, that is perfectly fine, but I am not part of that religion, so I know I am not required to abide by your rules. Now, if I go to, for instance, a heavily Muslim country and their rules are part of their laws, I'm going to abide by them.
Yeah, I'm not
because
going to be like chugging
laws.
beers and be like, yeah, I can drink. Suck it, losers.
Yeah, I'm not gonna come over there and just step right off the plane like eating a bunch of ham.
Yeah,
like no, I'm not gonna do that. Like that's not.
What,
not
you
great.
never had bacon? No wonder you're so pissed off.
Try this; it's delicious. Like no, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, like I'll be courteous and respect those traditions.
I'll respect your laws.
Yeah.
And to a certain degree, if I'm like in somebody's house, for instance, I used to install cable for a living. So I would go into a whole bunch of different people's houses and all different, cultures from backgrounds and religions and stuff like that. And if I am in your home, I'm going to respect whatever laws and rules and stuff like that you have for your home. If you say I think it was a Muslim couple, and they asked me to do something. I can't remember what it was. I had to wear gloves, and most of the time I'm a cable guy. I'll put the booties on my feet so I'm not tracking stuff all over your house or whatever. Or I'll put on my overalls if I'm like dirty or something, so when I kneel, it's not getting all over your floor. But most of the time, I kind of need my hands because I'm unscrewing and screwing and doing all kinds of stuff. And they asked me to put on these gloves, and I was like, I don't understand why, but I'm in your home, so I'm going to do it. And I put on the gloves, and one of the other guys that pulled up to the site to help me out, he didn't want to do it. He started like creating a big stink about it. And I was like, fine, here's a plan. You're going to handle the outside stuff at the pole. I'm going to handle the inside stuff inside their house because I have no problems with putting on gloves. And that's how we're going to handle this. We got the whole job knocked out, and the people actually they were like, thank you, because this is just part of our thing. And I was like, no problem. And to me, that just boils down to be respectful of other people.
Just have basic human decency.
Exactly. It doesn't need to be a big thing.
Yeah. Since we're in the holiday season, like all the people who get upset that people are like, oh, just say Happy Holidays instead of like Merry Christmas, and they're like, oh, let's have a treat. Take Christmas away. It's like, no, look, we live in a multicultural country, so I feel like that's fair to just say Happy Holidays.
There are
not everyone
200 different holidays that people celebrate between the end of October and the beginning of the new year. Yeah, happy holidays, because you don't know what this person celebrates.
Now, also, I guess you could argue so if I did say hey, Merry Christmas, and they're like, oh, hey, I'm Jewish. It's like, oh, my apologies, and hopefully they won't make a fuss about that too, because how do you look at someone and just be like, I bet they're Jewish, or I bet they're a Catholic?
Exactly. That's in itself kind of...
but hopefully they would still appreciate that I'm wishing goodwill upon them, regardless of what their religion and stuff like that is. And again, they can politely correct me, like, oh, by the way, I'm Jewish, or I'm Muslim, or whatever.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And I've stumbled into that trap before, when I was younger, much younger, when I was a kid. I actually grew up with a guy who he's Jewish, and every year for 3 or 4 years in a row, I would just completely forget, completely blank on it, and I would tell him, Merry Christmas, and he'd be like, Happy Hanukkah, and I'd be like, damn, did it again. And we did that so much that now, as adults, we recently, within the last 10 years or so, reconnected. Now, at Christmas time, we still to this day, I'll give him a ring, like, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. And we just have a laugh about it and talk about how our holiday was, and that was that's pretty much it. And it's something that started off as I'm correcting you, and now it's become a fun little joke or whatever that me and him do, because we have an understanding that I don't mean anything negative. I don't mean any ill will towards you. I do mean you well and everything else like that. I want you to be happy. I want the best for you, regardless of whether you're religious or not, or this, that,
Yeah, it's like when, people are like, oh, have a blessed day, or like, God bless you. I'm not going to be like, actually, I'm agnostic, so...
I'm just kind of like, oh. I'm not like, no, thank you, but...
Yeah, I'm just kind of like, oh, thank you. I appreciate that you're giving me some kind of goodwill, some kind of positivity towards
I usually just hit them with a YouTube and go about my day. Like,
now, if they ask, it's like, oh, are you religious? It's like, no, I'm agnostic. But, I'm not going to just immediately shit and be like, don't wish that upon me.
Yeah, how dare you?
Your godly magic. I was going to say witchcraft, but I don't know, I feel like those... Which, I don't know, I guess also, like, depending on your
Speaking of
point
Christmas.
of view, I feel like, when... Again, especially with, like, Christianity and, like, the whole witch hunt stuff, it's kind of like, oh, that's witchcraft. It's like, well, a lot of stuff Jesus was doing, that's magic.
That would fall into the realm of magic.
It's like, well, no, it's divinity. It's like, divine magic.
Okay, yeah. In D&D terms, we call those clerics.
Yeah.
Or paladins, depending on how you view the Crusades.
Like, it's so weird how they, like, find that weird distinction of kind of like, well, what's, like, good magic? But it's not magic, though. We can't call it magic.
We can't call it magic.
That woman over there trying to read, definitely a witch.
That's definitely
trying to learn some black magic.
Yeah.
We gotta go burn her.
Those people dancing in a forest, not hurting anybody, just literally dancing in a forest, probably tripping balls on some mushrooms. Those are witches. Let's go kill them.
Yeah, let's burn them.
My neighbor, who I really just don't like, I heard she was a witch, so... Just saying. Like, the whole Salem witch trials thing, that was... Because I dated a Wiccan.
Cool.
A girl who was a Wiccan, like, long time ago. And I didn't participate in any of her, like, her stuff with her I guess, coven? I don't know what it's actually called. But I didn't participate, but I did, like, just observe. And so it's more, like, very... spiritual, like the earth,
like kind of in tune with nature.
Yeah, just in tune with nature and stuff like that. And I found it fascinating. I really did. And I didn't like feel anything, spiritual or supernatural about it. But I did find it fascinating. And I was like, so this is what would have gotten you burned at the stake like just a couple of 100 years ago. Wow.
Yeah, and it's actually a fun fact. Wicca, I think, is like, I guess, the term for like Wiccans and I guess that stuff. But like, I guess the broader term is like neo-paganism. It's actually become a lot more popular over the last few years. And it's not like people are like started believing like Thor and stuff like that. Again, it's more just a lot of the religions were very close to like nature. That's why there were a lot of like these gods of like the rivers, gods of the forest, and gods of nature. So it's more of like a reverence for the earth and trying to be more in tune with like nature. And I think that's why neo-paganism has become more popular in the last few years, because people kind of like us are like, religion's kind of silly, not for me. But that kind of belief of being very spiritual and kind of being in tune with nature, it's like, I feel like that's something a lot of people can get behind. It's like, cool, yeah, I want to like, hang out in the forest, go hiking, and just be close to nature.
Yeah, and I feel like, and this is, again, just my personal opinion, I feel more willing to believe and accept a religion or a faith of some kind that has multiple gods of different, like, this is the god of thunder, like you said, Thor, so this is the god of thunder and lightning, and I think oak trees for some reason. But
I think so.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, these are the things that this god takes care of, and then these are the things that this god takes care of, and these are the things that that goddess takes care of, and these are the things like that. To me, seems more plausible than one god that takes care of all of it. Like,
which, even like the Abrahamic faiths, which again Christianity, Judaism, Islam, are very much like, kind of, they took a lot of the same stories from all these like pagan mythologies and just were like, we're just gonna have one guy.
Yeah,
because Jesus is essentially a demigod.
Yeah,
if you're going like the same thing as like Hercules from like Greek mythology.
Yeah, because God impregnated somebody to have Jesus, which was technically himself as a human being.
Yeah, and that's another thing too, is like religion is weird regardless of where you go in the world, because like at one point like Loki like gave birth to like a wolf.
Yeah, Fenrir.
Fenrir,
which is my favorite of all of the Norse mythology.
Yeah,
the tale of Fenrir and how he plays into Ragnarok. And
which I love Norse mythology because I love how the gods are aware that they die.
Yes,
because like in Greek mythology, they're up on this pedestal. They're also terrible. Like all the Greek gods are pretty much despicable human beings, or gods.
Despicable deities.
Zeus specifically. But like Norse mythology, not to say that they're like, great deities, but they're I feel like they're a bit more human in the sense that, like, they realize that, like, yes, we will die at Ragnarok, but it's because we have to die to save the world. And it's like, that's a cool concept where they were like, they're not these unkillable beings. They're just as capable of dying as...
And they realize that they are fallible.
Yes.
Which even the Greek gods and the Roman gods and stuff like that, like, they did as well. Mm-hmm. They realized that they had faults.
Yeah.
Any one of them. And then on top of that, I think it was the Greek gods, or is it the Roman gods? That also recognized the Titans, which were above them.
Yeah.
So they were like, no, there's something above even us. Mm-hmm. And then I don't know anything about the Titans, but I imagine that they probably had somebody above them as well. Like, it was a constant, there are higher forces at work here. Don't just put your faith in this one thing to take care of everything for you. No, you need to collectively work amongst yourself and cooperate in order to thrive and continue on. Like, we have our own stuff that we're dealing with. Like, I'm Zeus. I have 30,000 kids. Yeah.
Because I know all their names now. I just started giving them numbers.
I just continued to do horrible things to women on your planet.
Yeah. You became a swan to attract a woman. It's like, you're a god. I'm pretty sure you could just kind of like, I'm Zeus.
You could have just showed up as a crow and then turned into a human and been like, hey, like Mr. Clean. Like
chicks into swans. Into swans.
Who was it? Was it like Persephone or something like that went down, like got banished to spend eternity with Hades and then ended up being like, he treats me way better.
That's the thing. Hades is actually one of the better of the Greek gods, but he's always depicted as like the villain that's just like, no, Zeus is the worst. Yeah, Hades is actually decent.
Hades is actually a decent dude. Like, he has a dog. He has a 3-headed dog that loves him.
Think of all the snuggles you could get from a 3-headed dog.
Yeah, exactly. He is adamant about protecting Persephone. Mm-hmm. Like, you harm Persephone. That's part of the reason why making the jump to, I guess, modern day mythology, which would be comic book characters and fantasy and stuff like that. That's the reason why Doctor Doom is my favorite villain of all time. Favorite villain of all time. First of all,
multi-layered.
Incredibly
so much
multi-layered.
Nuance to him.
Yes, and on top of that, it fiercely devoted to his people, to the people of Latveria. Mm. If you come to Latveria looking to start some shit, like, I don't know how we're cussing on that. Okay. But if you come to Latveria looking to start some shit, you're done. Like, that's it. Doom is coming. But as long as you're peaceful towards him and his people, he's not really gonna mess with you that much. He has the ambition to control the world. Even the Black Panther god Bast told him, the only way the world will truly know peace is under Doom. I don't like that that's the reality of it, but if you were to take over the whole world, the world would know peace.
Also, he became God, the Marvel God, I think, after the 2015 Secret Wars. And that's pretty badass.
He got deity status, I believe. Okay. Yeah. He's become Iron Man. He took over the mantle of Iron Man for a period of time.
Basically is a combination of Iron Man and Doctor Strange, which is badass.
Like, he's not... I refuse to believe that he's human. He may have been born human. I refuse to believe that he is still human. The only time that really got cemented in my mind was when he went back in time to, like, the beginning of the Big Bang or whatever, and then came back to present day by waiting. Just waiting. Like, today I decide to be immortal. Like, he's not human.
Yeah.
He has pieces of the True Cross into his armor to get away from vampires and ward off Dracula before Blade was ever a thing. The dude is just insane.
And I'm really hoping that, like, with the Fantastic Four in the MCU, they finally do him justice.
Yeah.
Because, like, all the previous live adaptations have been... They kind of just make Doom whatever the plot needs him to be, where it's like, he can have electric powers now. He can blow someone's face up now.
You just shoehorn all that in.
Yeah.
And it's not the case. Like, I'm hoping that with all of this, they're starting the Secret Wars and the whole stuff going on with Wanda Maximoff and the constant teasing of Mephisto, and just everything that's going on. And then the fact that they've confirmed that Reed Richards teleported in, that was Doom tech. It wasn't like Stark tech or even Richards technology. It was actually Doom tech. If you look at it, the way that it happens is the way that Doom always portals into places. Cool. And that has been confirmed. So I'm hoping that with Kevin Feige in charge and as much attention to detail as he pays to like some of the source material, not all of it. Yeah. I mean, I get it. He has to change stuff in order to make it palatable to the broader audience. I really hope that they confirm Latveria, which I was looking for it on the map at the end or the beginning or end when they confirmed like the ripples under the ocean of Endgame. Yeah, I think it was Endgame. I was looking for it on the map. I don't know if I actually was able to see it or not. I know it would be closer to Russia, but
so it's I think in the comics it's usually in like the Balkans. I think like in between Serbia and Hungary.
I would imagine so.
Somewhere
like, somewhere in that region, because like I know like they had to like move Wakanda a little bit, and they would have to move Atlantis a little bit in order to make it work with like real locations and stuff like that. Because you're adding new countries into the map. So yeah, I know that they would have to like move it a little bit. They have Latveria in there. I want them to have Doom's mother, like him explain the storyline of him having to go to hell to get her.
That's the thing. Like if they don't do like honestly, they could do a whole just solo movie on Doom to build him up because I feel like he, in my opinion, because I agree he is Marvel's best villain. He could easily be like the next Thanos. Maybe not like on the power scale necessarily, but I mean, depending on which storyline in the comics you go with, sure. But on average, he's not the most powerful, but like he's super smart. He's got the magic, he's got the technology, so it's like, he could easily be the next big bad for the Avengers, and if you give him like an origin story, build him up to be the next big bad, and also make us like kind of feel for him, because he is kind of...
He's tragic in a lot of ways.
You can see where, same with Magneto, you can kind of see where these characters got the philosophy that they have, where you may not disagree or agree, but you're like, I get it though. I see why you're like that.
Yeah, and that's a direction that a lot of the villains have been taking lately. It really came to a head with Killmonger.
Yes,
in Black Panther.
Oh my god, like, Killmonger was
so one of those where I was just like, I am having a really hard time rooting for Black Panther right now. Like with the way that all of this, like everything that he says, I'm just like, you're the bad guy, right? Am I supposed to be rooting
I feel like had he not like killed, like, cause I think he killed his girlfriend and then like a couple other random people. I feel like that was their way of being like, well, we can't have him be that
likable. Yeah,
have him kill his girlfriend and other random people like brutally, mercilessly. Had they not done that, it's kind of like, so he's the bad guy?
He's the bad guy. Like, but he also his death had a lasting impact, and it was the first time that I would know of in the MCU, in the broader Marvel Cinematic Universe, that a villain had a lasting impact on the hero. Yeah, because if you think about Red Skull, he didn't have a lasting impact on Captain America. He was a villain of Captain America, but he didn't have a lasting impact. Hydra had the lasting impact. So that doesn't count. And then you think of the first Spider-Man movie. Vulture. Vulture. Where did he go? He went to prison and supposedly met Shocker, I guess?
Yeah.
Didn't he?
Or no, Scorpion.
Yeah. But nothing's happened with that since.
Yeah, and also imagine Spider-Man isn't like lying awake at night kind of being like, did I do the right thing putting that man in jail? Whereas imagine, T'Challa's probably like, I know he did some bad things, but
he tried to take over my country, but even that, he went about the right way. He challenged the king, which was his birthright to do. Like, he showed up in Wakanda. He found Wakanda, first of all.
He also did bring up a lot of good points on, like, Wakanda could easily be helping out the world, but he was
you sat back and watched as all of these terrible things have happened throughout all of history.
That was definitely the moment where I was kind of like, oh, this guy's got some good points.
He's got some really good points. Like, you all sat back and watched. You watched these atrocities happen, and you could have prevented it. Like, you could have prevented the slave trade. You could have prevented slavery all over the world.
Yeah.
Like, you could have prevented numerous wars. You could have prevented look how much further along we would be with technology.
Yeah.
We would have been so much better prepared for Thanos.
Mm-hmm.
Had you all intervened at any point. You chose not to. You made a deliberate choice, and that choice of inaction has led to more destruction than your choice to act. To me, like that, when he finally started pointing that out, I was just like, yeah, I'm Team Killmonger.
Yeah.
I'm 100% Team Killmonger. He's right.
Mm-hmm.
And then he brought up the LA riots and how they tied all of that in to his origin story, which was amazing. It was like, yeah, he's got a really good point.
Yeah.
And, of course, that then ushered T'Challa and Shuri to integrate Wakanda into the world. Make the rest of the world realize that, oh, this country that we thought was just poor fishermen that lived on the Nile or whatever river that is, like, they're not poor. They are actually the richest country on the planet. And they are the most technologically advanced country on the planet. Oh, like, we can't threaten them because they will kill us all. I have a hard time constantly rooting for the good guys in these kinds of movies and stuff like that, and even in the like comic books and stuff. Gore the God Butcher, still upset.
Yes.
Still very upset about the portrayal on screen.
I agree. And also that movie was way too comical. And,
yes.
Which, that's a whole other thing that I could go into, like... But yeah, that actually is my favorite Thor comic storyline, is Gore the God Butcher, because Jason Aaron does a really good job of, you see why he wants to kill the gods, and you're like, I mean, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
And he took painstaking effort to show how Gore was, like, on this really desolate planet that was just constantly everything was working against them. The ground, you could not grow anything. Like, every time that they got a little bit of something going, earthquake would happen and wipe it all out. Or a tidal wave would come by and just decimate them. Or tornadoes, or fire mixed with tornadoes. Like, it was just an awful existence. And they kept on praying. And it was a very, like, highly theistic thing. And they kept on praying to the gods, And Gore was like, maybe we shouldn't. Yeah. Maybe we should do something else because this isn't working and we're all dying. And they cast him out. He's exiled. And then he finds All Black Necro Sword. Yep. He gains these powers. And he's like, I've watched my entire... everything.
Yeah. Just wife and kids died before him, and then his whole tribe, so it's kind of like...
Yeah, I've watched all of this happen to the people of my planet, and at any point, you all could have intervened, just like with Killmonger and talking to T'Challa. At any point, you all could have intervened. We know you exist. Our planet was luscious and vibrant and beautiful at one point, and then you left, and now it's this, and you never bothered to come back and help us, despite how much we've tried to pray and everything else like that to you. We know you exist. It's not like we're praying to somebody we don't know is out there. We know you're there. You're just ignoring us willfully. Yeah, I'm a little pissed about that. So that's when he goes off and decides to do his thing. And the Necro Sword, isn't that also tied into Venom?
Yep.
The symbiotes?
I forget how it's tied in, but yeah, it is tied to, like, the symbiotes.
Yeah, I thought so. And the symbiotes are in the MCU now, right?
They are, because after the post-credit scene in No Way Home... No. Yeah.
I think it was No Way Home, because that's where Doctor Strange did all that. And,
there's the post-credit scene with Venom, and he's like at a bar somewhere, and then basically as he gets sucked back to his world...
A little piece of Venom is left in there. So hopefully in one of the near upcoming... But at the same time, isn't that also meaning that there is an Eddie Brock in...
There would have to be.
In the MCU currently that just hasn't met Venom yet.
Yeah, or and it is possible that, like, maybe it's like a completely different, like, they may, which I imagine they would get Tom Hardy, because, like, why would you
get another actor? You would need to
even for a different
cash
world
in on that money train, like, for sure.
Which I didn't really like the Venom movies. Oh, actually, I only saw the first one. Didn't bother with the second one.
I want to see it because, you know, Carnage.
Yeah, but I do like the idea of, like, Venom and Spider-Man, like, facing off in a movie, because that was like a really cool part in the 90s animated Spider-Man show was when Venom shows up, because it's like, man, yeah, Venom's kicking his ass. Yeah. Venom's basically better at everything.
Wipes the floor with him.
Yeah.
I also like the subtle way that they've hinted to how strong Spider-Man actually is.
Yes.
Love that.
Because
absolutely love that.
I still love the first two Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies more than I do the Tom Holland ones, but I do think that like they have Spider-Man in the MCU is more on par with how he should be.
Oh yeah.
Because like in Civil War, like when it's his first introduction, was a good like he's playing with the big boys basically. He's holding his own against.
He's a kid, and he's just like the moment that Bucky that scene,
like when Bucky punches him
and he stops him with one hand, and he's just treating it like it's just cool.
Yeah, and Bucky's not used to that. He's like, no, you should be like, I should be able to punch you and you fall down. He
took out Bucky and Falcon with no problem.
Yeah.
It was just like, all right, guys, I gotta go, and he just left.
Yeah.
And they're just like, we got our asses handed to us by this unnamed person that just showed up. Like, yeah, that's awesome. That was absolutely awesome. And that little bit right there was just like, okay, yeah, this dude is a big deal. Even if you're not a huge Spider-Man fan and stuff like that, which some people aren't. But that, to me, was really, really good nod to, like, Stan Lee and his work with Spider-Man and how much he actually loved that character. Like, that was one of his favorite characters. I cried when Stan Lee passed away. I have an alert in my phone that every year on his birthday and on his the anniversary of his death, it reminds me. And I'm just like, oh, I really wish he was still around. Because that's a person right there that kind of, back to the original question, or the question number 4 of, what is the meaning of life? That's a person that I think would have somewhat, not completely, but somewhat embodied my philosophy of the meaning of life. Of, just somebody who wanted to bring joy to the world. Kind of like the original writers of Action Comics #1 was Superman, and how if you didn't understand that the origin story and the actual, Superman showing up on the planet and how that comic came to be was actually a kind of like a biography of the original authors and how they immigrated to America, and
that's right.
They felt alien in this new world that was being built in this country and this, that, and the other, and they were treated poorly, but they still wanted to do great things. Yeah. And thus Superman, an alien, shows up on Earth, discovers he has powers, has seen the bad in this world, and chose to do good instead. Like, actively making that choice. Like, if you don't understand that, if you didn't understand that kind of story, you didn't understand Superman. Yeah. Just like if you didn't understand that the X-Men was about racism, like persecution. Like, if you didn't understand that, you didn't understand X-Men. It is a lot of these stories are mirroring real world events.
Yeah. Like, comics have pretty much always been political to an extent.
To an extent, yeah.
Because I know, like, a lot of people in the last few years have been like, oh, comics getting too political. And it's like,
it's always been this way.
Yeah. Now, maybe not, like, as overt as they are now, but yeah, comics have pretty much always been political. Again, especially X-Men, it's like that was the whole point, is to create a series for marginalized people, whether you be like a different race, ethnicity, religion, or whatever. You could relate to the X-Men as a whole, or maybe specific characters, because you're kind of like, yeah, I feel marginalized in like the world I live in. I can relate to these characters. And again, even Magneto, a great example, because like he saw the worst in humanity because he was a Holocaust survivor.
Yeah, he was at Auschwitz. Yeah. Like, actually at.
So when he's kind of like, humans are terrible, we should kill them, I'm kind of like, well, you're not entirely wrong.
I can't really say that you're
especially
wrong
from after what you went through. I cannot argue that, sir.
Exactly. Having seen what you saw, I can't really say.
Yeah, it's like, how do you argue that? And be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I prefer you didn't, though. I'm just saying, I prefer you didn't kill humans.
Look, I would like to not
cohabitation if possible, but yeah, I get it.
If you in the dichotomy between Charles Xavier and Eric Lyncher, that dichotomy right there is modeled, and at least I believe so. I have to double check, and I'm sure if you have nerds on your that listen to this, they'll definitely correct in the comments. But that dichotomy, I believe, was modeled after Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Yeah. Because it was very much of by any means necessary versus we need to figure a nice cohabitation. Yeah. Like, we need to figure a way to negotiate and actually come to a middle ground here. And then he's like, no, by any means necessary. Like, we have the power and the ability to do the thing. Like, we are, that's the part where I started to look at Eric Lyncher as a little bit, you've gone a little bit over the line, but it was when he came up with the name Homo sapiens superior. At that point, I was just like, you lost me. Because I get it. You need to have like a different genus species for what the mutants actually are, because it is a new, just like we are not the same as like the original the Cro-Magnon man and everything else like that. We're not the same as that. But in this case, it's literally just a mutation and it's not affecting everybody, and we're still learning about it and this, that, and the other. And by doing that, it was very much we are better than you. Not that we are adjacent and we are a new subset or a new species of you. We are better. Yeah. And it's just like,
Fun fact, gingers, we are technically mutants. Because what causes our red hair is an overproduction of iron.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm like a very lame version of Colossus. Like, he can turn his whole body into metal. I can just, my hair is red. I love it.
That's amazing.
But we are technically mutants because it is a mutation that causes the overproduction of iron.
That is very cool. I now know that mutants exist in the real world, and
we're just very boring.
The world is a little bit better of a place now that I have this knowledge. Like, today is one of those days that it's just,
our weakness is sunlight. So we're really not that effective. Unless it's like cloudy, overcast weather. Watch out.
Yeah.
Sunny.
Oh, that explains the weather in Ireland and Scotland.
Yeah, that's why like most redheads are from like Northern Europe, where it's usually cloudy
overcast almost all the time.
Yeah, we also produce, I think it's vitamin D is what you get from sunlight.
Yeah,
we naturally produce more vitamin D in our bodies too to compensate for the lack of sunlight.
Really?
Yeah. So like for me personally, if I'm in the sun for too long, one, I burn. No matter how much sunblock I put on it. But two, I literally get sick. Because again, exactly. I'm getting too much vitamin D, so my body's just like, get that shit out of there.
Yeah, that is really cool to know. I never knew that. Yeah. And that is awesome.
And so if there's ever a ginger revolution, we try to take over the world, you all will know how to defeat us. Just sunlight. We're basically vampires.
Okay, I'm going back to the Bahamas.
We won't go there.
Dude, look. You know
we'll be in like scuba suits to prevent ourselves from burning. That's the only way we can win.
I will say this: if y'all are recruiting, if y'all start recruiting, I will listen to the pitch. Depending on what the new world is going to look like afterwards, I
don't have a plan yet. It'll probably involve dimming the sun a little bit, not drastically, because obviously we need the sun, but like, to the point where we don't have to fear getting burnt anytime we walk outside.
Gotcha. Okay, well...
Because, I'm so pale, like, if I were to walk around, like, a cemetery, people would probably think I'm, like, a ghoul or a ghost or a vampire. And then when I do walk around cemeteries, the ghouls, gas, and vampires are like, God damn, get a tan.
Get a tan, buddy.
Yeah. So that's for you listeners who don't know how pale I am.
They put on their sunglasses.
Yeah, that's how pale I am. I even got sunburnt in Ireland. The one country in the world where I was like...
you weren't supposed to get sunburnt.
Yep. Day 2 in like 73 degrees, sunny. And I remember like when I got to the airport, they were all kind of like, oh, this is like the best weather we've had in like 6 years. It's like, it's all sunny, and like, we'd be driving around, and people, like, pasty pale Irish people like myself would be like laying out their yards trying to tan. I'm like, what are you doing? You can't.
No,
you cannot
that's not what
tan.
we do.
You just burn, you look like a lobster, and you feel terrible because you're burnt.
Oh my gosh, I just now am making the connection because of the fact that you said it's like an overproduction of iron. I'm just now making the connection that Kirishima from My Hero Academia has red hair.
Yes, he does.
and his body turns to stone, like turns to a form of.
I had not picked up on that, but that makes a lot of sense.
I just now made that.
And I wonder if that was intentional.
I don't
or if that was complete accident.
I don't know, but if it was intentional, beautiful storytelling.
Yes.
Like beautiful. I've got a whole new appreciation for Kirishima from My Hero Academia now.
Which I would love to bring you back on just to talk about anime, because I noticed you're a My Hero Academia shirt and hat.
Yes.
But since we're going on almost an hour and 40 minutes,
okay. All right.
Might as well start wrapping up. So do you have any thing you want to plug or promote, social media or anything like that?
The only thing that I would even bother promoting would be that I, every now and then, occasionally, whenever I feel like it, I do play Apex Legends on Twitch. The Twitch channel, I guess, is Relic0770, spelled RELIQ 0770. I am terrible at the game, so just good vibes and just laughing and joking at how bad I am. But if anybody wants to stop by and watch that, that's perfectly fine. I'm happy to have you. I play with a lot of my friends. If people say they want to play with me, I'm more than happy to play with them as well. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, I'm pretty boring the rest of the time.
I'm right there with you.
I like to have a good time and do good things. So,
all right, well, definitely go check out his Twitch. Is it streaming?
Twitch stream. Yeah.
Stream. Okay. And you can also, well, I'm not big on social media, but you can follow me on Twitter if that still exists, given its current state. We'll see. But you can also check out my Facebook page, Vlogging with Jake, where you can check out my travel vlogs. In February, I'll be going to New Zealand, so I'll get to go to Middle Earth. So I'll definitely be vlogging about that, so go check that out. And that pretty much wraps up this podcast. Hope you will have enjoyed. Be looking forward to that anime podcast, because I could go on for hours just on anime. So
happy to do it. And be kind to one another.
Yeah, that's the message of the day. Be kind to one another, and just don't be a dick.
I love it.
Until next time, everyone. Cheers.
Cheers.